Greetings, Flosstube. It is 7 o'clock p.m. East Coast time on Monday, September 19th, 2016. Just thought I would stop in with a brief little progress report and a slight haul stash to share. I haven't made a lot of progress this time of year. I generally don't, but I do have a couple of things that are coming along. One of them would not be Nutty Parade. I tried to work on that yesterday for a while, and I just got so sick of the damn whisper thread. I was like, okay, this dude's looking like he's got a unibrow right now, and half of his hair is done, but I am not stitching on this anymore. So I just had to take a break from that one. It's, you know, I mean, the whisper thread, it could be worse, but for some reason I think the black whisper thread is worse than the gray and the white that I was using on the other nutcrackers. It's not pretty. And I'd already had a rough weekend at that point anyway, so I was probably not even in the mood. But I'll tell you more about that in a minute. And I'll try to keep it to a short but sweet discussion so that my video doesn't take till the next millennium to upload. About the only appreciable progress I've made lately was Friday night. I participated in my first Google Hangout, and the lovely Melanie Watkins of Soulful Stitching Sisters. She initiated it on Stitch Mania, and I was like, sure. You know, my night had gotten blown up. My husband was supposed to be home in a decent hour, fix dinner for him, have a nice evening together. That got all shot to hell real quick. But when your husband works for a football team, this time of year, stuff's going to happen. So I wasn't happy, but I found the Hangout, and it was me, and Melanie, and Twyla, and Lisa, and McKenna, and Wally made an appearance, which made me feel better because, you know, Wally, he's just like every other dog. How can you feel bad when you see their sweet little faces? But he's got it in spades because he's just one of those scruffy little scrubby, you know, so ugly he's cute kind of dogs. But anyway, so it was really nice. I had never done a Hangout before until the night before. Thursday night I had tried to do one with my niece, and I kind of sort of got it to work. As I sat there and we talked about all kinds of things, I worked on the rainbow pooping unicorn, and it's almost finished. You can see I've still got this spot on his butt to stitch in and his leg, but I can get that done this week. I mean, I might, let's see, tomorrow night I'm going to yoga, so I might not feel like stitching, and Wednesday night, I might work on it Thursday. I will take it with me. We've got another game out at Gillette this weekend, so I will take it with me to the hotel Friday night, which is where I stitched on it a couple of weeks ago. But he's almost done. Now, this is actually probably going to end up being, I know I told you I was stitching it for my niece while she was in the hospital, but the good news is she might get to go home tomorrow or Wednesday. I haven't gotten to talk to my family yet to find out because she had another round of PFTs today, and if the results were good, they were going to do a little surgical procedure to remove the PICC line and let her go home tomorrow. So I haven't talked to him, but that was the last I heard. So this might be a welcome home gift as opposed to the hospital gift, but it's just, it cracks me up to work on this. You can't be in a bad mood and work on a rainbow pooping unicorn. It's just not possible. So hopefully I can get it done and get it in the mail to her by the first of the week, and I will do a little video to show you how I finished it. The only other thing I've really worked on that I've made any progress since the last video was I worked a scotch on the Seven Dwarfs. I got Grumpy done, and I was in a grumpy mood when I was stitching Grumpy, right? He's right here, and he's got the little scowling eyebrows, so that's how you know it's Grumpy. Of course, the pattern has the names across the bottom, but I'll do that last. But let me see if I can figure out which way to show you. But, yeah, no, the lighting in here still stinks. But, and then the purple hat, of course, is Dopey, so I started on Dopey, but I haven't worked on this one in about 3 or 4 days. But it's turning out cute. And, I'm enjoying stitching it on Fiddler's Cloth. So that was really the only progress I made. I did make a little progress, like I said, on Nutty Parade, but I don't even want to look at that thing right now, so I'm not going to get it out to show you. But I did do a little bit of stash enhancement. When did I get this? This, I'm going to place this order with, well, no, that's my Nordic needle one. Let me see. I placed an order with Stitcher's Paradise because Sandra Lynch, she didn't exactly enable me because she didn't have the pattern that I bought, but she kind of sort of did because she mentioned Charlie Harper. And I had known Charlie Harper's artwork from stationery that I've bought before. He was an early 20th century artist, and he actually, I think, just passed away in 2007 or something in his 80s. But when did I place this order? I'm trying to think. Does the receipt tell me? Oh, on the 13th. So that was what, last Tuesday? Yeah. So Stitcher's Paradise, because anyway, back to what I was saying. Charlie Harper did a lot of like really bold geometric birds and dogs and cats and things, and he had a very unique style. If you see a Charlie Harper and you know it's one that he did, then you'll always recognize his artwork because it was a very distinctive style. And this one, I have a wish list at Stitcher's Paradise that has the 3 cardinal patterns that he created. But this one I thought was just, considering I have 2 Basset Hounds in my life now, not directly, but through my sister. This is the one that's called Catbird Seat. And this one here is a Basset Hound with a cat on his, sitting on his head. But this is the one that I really bought this booklet for. Although I do like the cat, but the Basset Hound here, I'm going to try to do a color conversion on this one because my sister has a solid black Basset Hound and she has a tan and white one. And I want to try to figure out if I can, like maybe a couple of different shades of white and beige, and do a color conversion on this one to make it resemble Ozzy, who wasn't supposedly named after Ozzy Osbourne, but that's what I think of every time I think of that little sweet booger. But yeah, I think if I could do a color conversion on this one, I would do that one for my sister and make it look like Ozzy. But it says Charlie Harper. Well, he designed Catbird Seat. He designed these patterns in 1976, it says. Cats and dogs, oil and water, pickles and preserves, they just don't seem to go together. For starters, cats are loners, sufficient unto themselves. Dogs are party animals. Cats could care less when you come home. Dogs throw a party when you step in the door. But occasionally, when the same hand feeds them, they patch up their differences and hang out together. And he was a wildlife artist. And it says, wildlife art has traditionally been painted super realistically, but Charlie Harper has chosen to do it differently. I think flat, hard-edged, and simple, and funny. I never count the feathers in the wings, I just count the wings. Minimal realism, I call it. So. But this is actually a very old pattern. This one, it was original artwork by Charlie Harper, 1982, and this was Pucker Brush Incorporated printed this pattern, and it was from 1992. So it's one of those awesome, like, hand-drawn patterns. It's not computer generated at all, and I love these because these are the kind of patterns I started stitching on. I didn't, you know, I mean, I started stitching in 93, I think, so the hand-drawn patterns were the ones that I gravitate to. So this one is from 1992. But I love the Basset Hound, so I'm gonna eventually, at some point before I die, try to do a color conversion on that one and make it look like my sister's dog. Because he's very, he's white with like really pale tan spots. I had never seen I'd seen a Basset Hound that was the traditional like tan and black and white, but I had never seen a white Basset Hound until I saw Ozzy. And then Wilbur's completely solid black. So I couldn't, you know, I wouldn't do that, but I'm going to try. And this is a piece of fabric from Silk Weavers. I mean, not Silk Weavers. God, if my Silk Weavers fabric showed up, I'd pass out and hit my head on the keyboard. This is a piece that I bought from Stitcher's Paradise. And it was a one-off. Yeah, that's not going to show up here. It was a one-off, just like a leftover from a dye, what do you call it? My brain just shut down on me. Never mind. But it was basically a discontinued dye lot or whatever you want to call it. It's called Rainbow Dreams. It's kind of a pinky, purpley, greeny kind of, and I'm going to use this. This is 32 count linen. And the one that I'm going to do for my niece for next year's dance competition, the one that says, though she be but little, she is fierce, that was an Etsy pattern. I'm going to do it on this fabric because this is not nearly as pink as the last fabric I used, and it will be nice to stitch on something that's kind of a scotch more subdued, but the colors in the pattern are pretty bright. There's pinks and teals and stuff, so it'll go better on this fabric, I think. So that's the plan for that fabric. And then the only other thing that I bought recently, actually I didn't buy this recently at all. I bought it a while ago, but because it was coming from overseas, it took almost 2 months to get it. But I ordered it from Nordic Needle, and it's a Permanent Copenhagen pattern that I really wanted to stitch for a while, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it, and I'll tell you why. First of all, let me show you. It is absolutely the most gorgeous. The first time I saw this on the Nordic Needle website, I knew I wanted to do it. But the reason I had an emotional block against it was because I found this shortly after my grandmother passed away, and she loved roosters. She decorated her kitchen with roosters and chickens, and she just loved that sort of motif. And it made me think of her, and I wanted to stitch it as a tribute for her, but shortly after she passed away was when I found it, and I just couldn't even think of it. There was no way. So I decided that I wanted to stitch this as a tribute to her. She's been gone, it's almost 16 years now. It'll be 16 years in November. So I went ahead and ordered it. I have no idea how big this one is going to be. It does not say. Well, 30 by 40 centimeters, whatever that translates to. I don't know how many inches, but it's going to be a big one. And I thought that I would stitch this as a tribute to my grandmother, but also give it to my parents, because they just recently renovated their house, their entire kitchen. They've been living in that house since I was 9 years old, so that was what, 34 years ago, if my math isn't fuzzy. 34 plus 9 is 42, right? 35, yeah, 34 plus 9. No, 30. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, they've been there a long time. You do the math, 42 minus 9, you'll figure out how long my parents have been there. It's the end of the day. Caffeine wore off a long time ago. Stuff ain't happening. So anyway, to make a long story short, I thought I would stitch this as a tribute to my grandmother, my mom's mother, and give it to them because they totally gutted their kitchen. There were things that they needed to do as far as renovations, and then they just decided, well, why don't we do some things we've wanted to do for a while and never had the chance to. But I also think what I'm going to do is I think, given the plan that I have for this, listening to McKenna and a few other people talk about entering county fairs and state fairs made me decide that I was going to do the same next year. The thing about Massachusetts is we don't have a state fair. It's a regional New England fair called the Eastern States Exposition, or the Big E, and it's a regional fair. It's held here in Massachusetts, not too far from where I live, but they have like replica state houses from each state, and they have a day dedicated to each state, but there's not any one particular state fair throughout New England. And I checked their website, but the only thing they have is like a photography competition. And I mean, it makes sense because the background of that was all the agriculture in the area and like cattle auctions and agricultural shows. And it's actually turning 100 this year. But so I looked into the county fair that's up here, the 3-county fair, which is held over Labor Day weekend. And I checked their website. It's like, oh, voila, there we go. So I'm going to enter that next year. They have several different, like perforated paper, stamped cross stitch, counted cross stitch, needle point, embroidery, stuff like that. So I'm going to enter that. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this pretty much all year, try to get it finished to submit it to the fair, get it framed at my framers and submit it to the fair, and then give this to my parents as an early Christmas present. And I think, because I wanted to do something in keeping with the fair theme, and I'm not really into doing seasonal patterns like autumn. And I mean, there's some pretty ones out there. That's just not my thing. But I think a rooster, especially something as ornate as this is, would be perfect. It's 14 count Ada. I may change the fabric, but seeing as how I won't start this one until the first of the year, I'm going to be fine with waiting for a while to decide. So anyway, that was pretty much it for my stitchiness this week. Like I mentioned, the weekend got all discombobulated. A couple weeks ago, we lost to Boston College 26 to 7. So it was not a good day. But this past weekend, we played Florida International here at home. Our second string quarterback had to go in because our starter was hurt. Now everybody's saying leave the second string guy in, which I am opposed to if the starter is able to start, but that's a whole other story. And we won 21-13, so that's great. Now we play Mississippi State this weekend, so I have a feeling even if we put the second string in, he's going to look as bad as the starter did against Boston College because, quite frankly, he went to high school with one of the tight ends. He played in high school with one of the tight ends who's with us who had 2 years of eligibility left after leaving Penn State. And they've known each other for a while, so they have like almost this psychic connection, and it's always forward to Brenneman, massive yardage gain or touchdown or whatever. But I have a feeling we're going to go to that well one too many times like we go to the Marquise Young running back well, and it's just going to close down on us. Because all you have to know is the two guys on our team to target are Brenneman and Marquise Young, running game and passing game. So I really don't see how putting Ford in and expecting him to constantly have this complete symbiotic relationship with the tight end is going to work. But I'm digressing. I try to get back on track here. But so anyway, this weekend, last week, it was last Thursday, I found out that I was not allowed to watch the game from the football office. And I was PO'd about it, but then later I found out I was going to get to sit in the press box, in the athletic director's old press box, side of the press box. And I was like, well, the view will be better. Because until we get a Jumbotron, anything from the building you can't see it. So it's not, even all the angles of the building that there are to watch from, they're just not that good until we get a Jumbotron so you can actually see what you're missing on the other side of the field. So it was more the principle of the thing to me, because we basically, the families were not being allowed to watch the game from the offices. Ostensibly it was because of security, but we found out later it was because the donors demanded to have the run of the building. So the senior football lady was just like, okay, fine. You can have it. We're going to lock the place down, but you can have the run of the building and we'll kick out the families. Now, the families basically consist of me, head coach's wife, Brenda, defensive coordinator's wife, Leslie Ann, and her son, Jack. But he has hand, foot, and mouth disease right now, so he's not going to be coming to games for a couple weeks. And he's a young adult. He's like 22, by the way. I mean, it's not just an infant illness. And then, occasionally a few of Coach Whipple's close friends come and watch the game with us. So, but I had this pass, and it was a specialized ticket. It was a press box ticket. And so I went Saturday, probably an hour and a half before game time, and I was just going to go up, use the bathroom in the press box, take my camera and stuff up there, and just relax up there and wait for everyone else to show up, because I was the first one there. And to say there's been a security crackdown at football games recently would be an understatement. And they had a security team there that was wearing gray shirts and all that. But they had the Mullen Center employees working in security as well. Now, the Mullen Center is where our hockey team and basketball team plays. And quite frankly, it's a civic arena. It's not run by UMass. It's on our campus. It's where half our sports teams play, but it's run by people who are just Mullen Center employees. It's not run by the university because they have concerts there, trade shows there, Cirque du Soleil's come through. In a couple weeks, there's a gymnastics and ice skating exhibition or something. So it's kind of like any city civic center kind of thing. So these people don't know jack squat about UMass athletics, and they're very letter of the law, anal retentive. The rules are the rules, and anybody who tries to bend the rules or anything isn't going to get away with it. Which I guess to a degree is what you need with security, but there's shades of gray. So I go up, and the lady running the elevator to the press box is a Mullen Center employee, and I hand her my pass, and I said, well, I'm going up to the press box, and she looks at me and said, well, you can't. You have to go sit out in stands. I was like, no, this is a press box ticket. And she was like, well, do you have a badge? No, because I'm not a staff member. I'm a staff wife. And I was told because we got kicked out of the PC that we were going to be sitting in the press box. And she's like, well, you don't have credentials. You can't go up there. And of course, I'm starting to have like steam coming out of my ears. My face was probably blood red. My head, probably had flames shooting out of it at this point. So I lost it on her. I was like, what the hell do you mean? My husband has worked for the team for 16 years. This is what I was told to do. And now you're telling me I can't? I wouldn't have a badge. I don't work for the team. And I just started going off on her. And she's like, well, let me get someone over here to clarify this. I was like, no, I'm going to call my husband and he'll help me get to the bottom of this. So fortunately, it was enough before game time that it wasn't, Bill wasn't just like running around like crazy and didn't have a chance to help. So by the time he got down to the press box elevator, Brenda had shown up and she was getting the same runaround. And she was with one of Whip's closest friends, a guy named Moose. Yes, I know a man named Moose. I've never known his real name. Old school gray-haired guy with the handlebar mustache, very eccentric photographer, always hands me the same pictures that he's taken at the bear sanctuary in Louisiana. But so I was just furious, and I was like, okay, I can't keep losing it in front of Brenda. I think of her like a mother or an aunt or someone like that, and I wouldn't want my mom to hear me talking like this. And she called the associate athletic director, who's in charge of football, the number 2 guy. And then she texted him when she couldn't get through to him with anything but a voicemail. He never answered. So Bill said, okay, well, I'm going to call Dan Markowski, our facilities manager, our facilities athletic director, and see if he can help. And I hate to say it, but in his usual manner, he passed the buck on to Tom. Well, Tom wasn't answering Brenda's phone call, so he wasn't going to answer Bill's. And so Bill went inside, and he was trying to figure out what was going on. And Coach Gorham, the guy I told you I think of like my uncle, he was furious. He was like ready to rip someone's face off, but he had work to do, so there wasn't much that he could do. So we're standing down there in the stadium on the fence, on the sidewalk beside the field. And I was like, okay, fine. They told me I didn't have a seat, but they can't tell me I can't stand down here and take pictures. So I did get some good pregame pictures because I was standing there, but I was just so furious. I mean, it was such disrespect. And to me, okay, fine, disrespect me. I'm not anyone special. But to disrespect the head coach's wife like that just flew right through me. I was like, excuse me? You're going to treat Brenda Whipple this way? First of all, she's like one of the dearest, sweetest ladies you'll ever meet. Second of all, she's the head coach's wife. For crap's sake, come on. Respect her if you don't respect anyone else in this freaking stadium. So finally I had mentioned, because Bill said that Coach Gorham told him that Sean Quinn, who's the ticket manager, said that's all we need. And so I just in passing mentioned that to Brenda, and she just happened to have Sean's phone number. So we called, and he was so embarrassed. We called him, and he came rushing over, and he got us up there. And then he stayed down until Leslie Ann got there because she was running late because she was stuck in traffic. And so we got up there, and we had a great time watching the game. But it was only 5 of us. First of all, we wouldn't have been any kind of interference in the PC anyway. But then to go through all that crap, it was just so disrespectful. But Bill told me later, we were talking about the security presence. because it was like, it was worse than it was last year. And last year we had people talking about how it was like a police state at the games. And I thought last year when they said that it was a little overdone because I just didn't notice it. But let me tell you, Saturday I noticed it, and hell's probably frozen over, and I think Satan is our new hockey coach, because the one guy that I can't stand on Twitter, who's always got something nasty to say about the team and the coaches and the administration, said something about it being like a police state, and I was standing there thinking, oh my God, he is right. So yeah, Satan's our hockey coach now. His hell froze over Saturday. But Bill and I were talking about it, and he said, like, you know, they have their uniform that they wear. I mean, they have their game shirts with the UMass Power U on it, which is our logo now, and, you know, they're the school colors and whatnot. And nobody at a McGurk home game in Amherst has ever had to wear their credentials to get on the field. So his kids weren't wearing their credentials. They didn't think anything about it, and then they were almost not let on the field to go up into the scissor lift, because they filmed from the far side of the end zones from scissor lifts. And Bill told me that if it weren't for the fact that one of the gray shirts, as he called him, let him on the field to make sure everything was okay for his kids and that his kids were all set, he wouldn't have been allowed on the field. And he said it was the most ridiculous thing, but they weren't even going to allow the trainer on the field. Now, she has to be there. Jen has to be there in case somebody gets hurt. And Bill said he noticed, like, because a couple of our kids, they didn't get hurt seriously, but they were, like, cramping up and all. And when she ran out on the field, he said, I could just see her badge trailing behind her, and she's never had to wear a badge before. So it was hyper-retentive. And I told Bill, if I were a casual fan, I don't know if I would go back to a game if the police presence keeps up like that. But anyway, that's pretty much the sum total of that. And so badges just have not been a thing for me, because I went to work today and forgot that I left my work badge on the kitchen table. And, you know, I told you in one video about the security crackdown we had. So I was just like, okay, well, they'll let me in and I can just get a temporary badge or something. Or I just, you know, I had my lunch with me. So it's like, well, I'll just eat lunch and stay in for the day. But apparently they've cracked down so hard on you having a badge with you at all times that when one of the supervisors let me in, she was like, well, you need to see Dew, who's our office manager, and he'll deactivate your real badge and give you a temporary one. Okay, well, I understand that if I was going to Val and saying, I lost my badge, I have no clue where it is, of course, then you deactivate it. But I knew exactly where my badge was. I could tell them. I was like, you know, because what happened was I had it on all day at work on Friday, and I forgot to take it off, because usually I just take it off and throw it in my car cup holder when I get done at work. And I didn't do that. So when I got home and I was changing my clothes, I was like, crap. So I just threw it on the kitchen table, and that's where it was today. And I mean, it's just like, really? So badges, I don't want to have anything more to do with badges for a while. So that's pretty much been the sum total of the excitement of my life lately. But my family and Bill's family got to watch the game. See, we have to be televised, because the thing is, the sticky wicket is, being an independent, you have to come up with your own way to have instant replay, because all 1A teams now have to have instant replay capabilities. And when we were in the MAC provided the equipment and stuff for us, but without having a conference, it's up to us to get it together. So by virtue of a TV contract, we have instant replay. So I got a text from my dad that said, yay, UMass. I was like, oh, cool, you got to watch the game. And he didn't know it was on, but he was flipping channels because he was trying to find an actually close football game to watch, because some of the ones Saturday were complete blowouts, like Virginia Tech 49, Boston College 0, which I can't stand Boston College. I don't like Virginia Tech that much, but don't tell Jessie Marie that. But still, I was just grateful they kicked the crap out of BC, because BC is just a bunch of smug Jesuit wing-wangs up there on Chestnut Hill. Yeah, anyway. So, but they got to watch, my in-laws got to watch it, and so it's kind of cool now. And there's this guy who follows my blog who's out in Montana. I follow his. He trains Spinonis as therapy dogs and hunting dogs. And I follow his blog, he follows mine, and he left a comment on my blog about great game, because I write about football and stuff on my blog. So that was cool. Everybody I knew got to watch it. So yeah, I don't know what the heck cable package you have or anything, but if you're ever flipping channels on a Saturday afternoon, and you might come across UMass. Anyway, I mean, that's just been the icing on the cake recently. But I have been managing to get some stitching done, and I have to admit, when I'm just like ready to kill someone, stitching calms me down. There's two things in my life that keep me from killing people: stitching and coffee, and usually sometimes both at the same time in varying amounts. But I'm going to cut this video short because it's at a half an hour now, and if I convert it and upload it, maybe it won't take all night. I've been worried that I ramble too much in my videos. I try to leave the discussions of just like life stuff to the end in case people just don't want to hear it, so that they can just tune out and shut it off after the cross-stitch stuff. So let me know if you think I ramble too much, because sometimes I worry that I do, and I don't want to bore the people who watch my videos. That's hardly the point. I mean, if all you really want to see is cross-stitch stuff, then I can make my videos just about cross-stitch. So just let me know, because sometimes I worry that I just talk too much. But, it's just, I think of it as a way of sharing my life, because I'm not just all about cross-stitch. There's a whole lot of other things going on in my life that define me. So anyway, I'm going to cut this short. Hopefully it won't take all night to upload. And until next time, I wish you happy stitching and a happy life, and I will see you soon. Bye.